Welcome to a Drop Tent Media Production.
The Porcupine with Adam Nutter.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Porcupine. Want to say episode number 20, I think. Yeah, I think episode number 20. Thanks for checking us out. Again, guys, for all fucking awesome show for all you Meathawks who came out to the Virginia Fairfax show. That was a fucking great time. Everyone came out, was super strong, super powerful, super awesome. Thanks for coming out to that show. Again, you guys can find me at Adam Nutter and all that shit, all social media. Future show dates coming up real quick. October 9th, this Saturday, I'll be in Lockhart, Texas with Robbie the Fire Bernstein and Kyle Ruff. Coming out to that show. October 15th, I'll be at Chalfont, PA, right outside of Philly, opening up for Aaronberg. And then October 22nd, I'll be in Trenton, New Jersey at the Ivy Tavern. Coming out to those shows. Droptent.com/events for all those tickets. All right, boom. My guest today is a fucking great person for Liberty, a great person for the whole movement. The best trucker in the Liberty movement over Top Lobster. Give it up for my man, Reed Coverdale, everybody. What's going on, man?
Hey, it's going well, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. So again, first of all, you're in the middle of a truck stop right now, so sorry that you're not super comfortable and you're just doing it from your car. But you do that a lot, man. You're always on the road, always doing these from your fucking car. You guys look like you're like in a bunker about to take a hostage to camera. Like every time you record, like that's what your vibe is.
Yeah, I mean, I did the first one out of my truck sometime last summer, and then I realized it kind of gave my show more grit. And so then I just started, because I used to always try to schedule them when I was going to be home. So I do them in my sort of studio deal. But then I was like, no, people kind of like the whole roughneck idea of doing it right from the sleeper cab of the truck. So just started doing more of those. And, sometimes the tech doesn't hold up, but that's become sort of part of my show at this point. You just it's like, oh, wow, Reed's having Peter Schiff on. We'll see if his Wi-Fi lasts all the way through the stream or if it just knocks out. So it adds like a different level of tension to the show that people have sort of come to appreciate at this point almost.
Yeah, no, it's like true ruffian. It's like the old west of podcasting in a way. You're doing it like if this was back in the 1800s, instead of dying in the Oregon Trail, you're just gonna die recording a podcast in your truck using cheap Wi-Fi and trying to get through a conversation with Peter Schiff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people have asked me, like, how do you have the numbers you do on YouTube? And I said, hey, the way to have a successful YouTube channel, you guys are all doing it wrong, who have got, like, the super crisp backgrounds with, like, the really high-def cameras and perfect sound. Like, just set the bar low, and then you can always meet it every episode you do so people aren't disappointed. And I've kind of mastered that, so I think that's why it's been successful.
Yeah, no, we're trash, apparently. We're the trash ones with the good cameras. You're doing it right. You're doing it better than me. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I gotta figure it out. I might as well throw all this shit out. Waste fucking money. Also, I always say this too. You should go by Coverdale. It sounds like a fucking mythical town in like England somewhere. Like, oh, Coverdale? Oh yeah, we don't go to Coverdale anymore. Like it's fucked up. Like it's wild. There's guns over there. Like, it's just fucking booze. Like we don't go there anymore. So just throwing it out there. Think of a change. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know if it's a telemarketer because they always say it Cloverdale. Is Mr. Cloverdale there? No, he's not here.
No.
It's an easy way out.
Reed, I ask this to everybody generally. What brought you to the Liberty Movement? Like, what made you just go, fuck it, this is my path?
Well, it was two parts. Part of it was philosophical. The other part was hands-on. So I did not become a libertarian from reading books, or listening to podcasts. It seems like that's how most people do it. But I've been working since I quit high school. I didn't go to college. And in the workforce, you just see that centralized control is stupid. I mean, if you just let people do their own work to their best ability with their own tools and, how they want to do it, and you try not to micromanage. I just noticed that things moved a lot more smoothly. And then I also just noticed how stupid all the regulations coming from on high were. It's just OSHA is like the bane of existence, in my opinion. I mean, they're so dumb. Like, you have to wear a harness when you're 4 feet in the air. I mean, it's just the dumbest shit ever. So I already had empirical experiences that had kind of turned me off to regulation and centralized control. And so then I just kind of took it upstairs philosophically. And in 2014, I started paying attention to Rand Paul, mostly after his filibuster of the drone strike program for appointing, what's his name there? Our best friend who called us terrorists at the beginning of the year.
Brennan.
Yeah, Brennan. John,
yeah.
For the nomination of John Brennan when he was filibustering that. That was when I started paying attention to him. And then I supported his run for president in 2016. And that's kind of where it started. And I sort of laid off on the in-between years. Didn't even really call myself a libertarian until 2020 again. And it was mostly just because I was kind of not impressed with the Libertarian Party. And then in 2020, things were so bad. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to get invested in this again. And that's when I really started getting into libertarianism, started doing a podcast, interviewed a lot of libertarian candidates from all around the country, and decided, this is kind of what I want to throw my weight behind and get people to start thinking about this type of stuff. And yeah, it's just kind of grown from there.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people are in the same boat. Everybody always has like that one issue they find, and they're like, "Hey, this is bullshit." And then you look at like the two main parties, and they're like, "Oh, you guys aren't talking about this thing that's pretty important to a lot of people." And then you're like, "Oh, the liberty movement. What the fuck is that?" And then you go down the Ron Paul and all that. Everybody kind of has the same pipeline almost in a weird way. All right, here's a question. So you were a guy, you fucking came out of nowhere, and it's not an insult at all, obviously, but like. I one day Dave Smith and Phil Labonte were like, "Yo, you should check out Reed." I was like, "Who the fuck is Reed?" Just a fucking trucker who's throwing out these fucking great, liberty wisdom zingers, and I'm like, "Damn, dude, who the fuck is this guy? Where did you come from? Like, where did you get to where you are?" I mean, I'm glad you are, and I'm glad you are the force you are. It's just. As an outsider, not outsider, as an insider looking in, also, you're like, damn, dude, Reed fucking crushed it. Like, so where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, I owe a lot to Dave. I really do. I mean, he gave me the initial publicity. And then, unfortunately for Ryan Dawson, he got his YouTube channel nuked in January of this year. And then I have been like his #1 platformer since then. So he's just come on my show once a month and then occasionally more than that. But those two guys have given me most of the publicity I've had, and I really appreciate it from both of them. I don't really think I have anything that unique or special to say. Like it's been
disagree.
Kind of, I don't know. I mean, I didn't read libertarian theory until this year, like the beginning of this year. Like I said, I didn't become a libertarian through reading books. So when I started getting publicity, I was like, oh shit, I guess I have to start reading this stuff so I know what other people are talking about. So I started out with Anatomy of the State and No Treason. And then I read For New Liberty, and just kind of branching out from there, reading some of Hoppe's stuff, because that's the area I've been checking out lately. I don't think I'm there, but it's interesting. So I'm listening to some of his speeches and getting into that. But I'm no scholar, and I'm no I don't think of myself as any sort of philosopher. I think the reason I connect with people is because I am just a normal guy who's working 60 hours a week, and I'm doing the podcast from the road. It seems like most people who do podcasts who have large audiences, they're not in the workforce anymore. And even people who mix with the workforce a lot, like Mike Rowe, like even he is the blue collar guy himself. He's like he has a different toolbox. He has more the intellectual, showmanship skills, and he connects with the blue collar people. It's very rare that you find someone who's actually doing the work who's talking about some of the bigger ideas that kind of bring everything together. So maybe that's the hole I filled. Maybe there wasn't really anyone in the liberty space doing that. But I think what initially gave me the publicity, it was kind of weird, but after Joe Jorgensen really didn't do well and no one did well throughout the entire country, I felt like the liberty movement was just splintering and falling apart. And I actually thought about trying something else, because I mean, if you watch my podcast at the end of 2020, I was pretty desperate. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, we can't pull anything together. We're not impressive. People don't listen to us. You know, the Trump supporters are losing their minds right now because Trump lost. The like far left progressive wing of the Democrat Party is freaking out because they got screwed over again, and the corporate centrist Democrats are taking over, and no one's looking at us. Like, everything is imploding everywhere. The country's falling apart, and no one's like, oh, look at these libertarian guys. And it's because we can't centralize around like the important big issues, and we can't just put the dumb shit aside and try to push a message that's going to resonate with people. And so I was talking about that a lot at the beginning of 2021, and that's how Dave found out about me, and he kind of latched onto that. He was like, yes, this is what we need to do. And that's how I initially got that publicity. And I don't know, just kind of grown out from there. It's been really weird, man. I a year ago, I was having friends on the show and getting 40 views. Now I'm having Abby Martin and Peter Schiff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
It's crazy.
That's so fucking awesome. Again, your podcast, The Naturalist Capitalist, right? I mean, why that? I mean, obviously capitalism, that makes sense, but naturalist, like, explain that a little bit to people who don't really get, because that's like a kind of a different concept to most, I guess, grounded libertarians, you know, like the whole naturalist thing and the whole, so yeah, if you don't mind just giving that like a world of like why you went that route for your podcast, like that name, that brand, like what were you thinking with that?
Yeah, so I'm a huge outdoorsman. I've done a ton of hiking, ton of backpacking. I've been to all 50 states, most of the national parks. So I have a very deep connection with nature, and I think that the liberty movement kind of misses that. Like, they just kind of dismiss you as a tree hugger hippie if you're someone who is really into the outdoors. And I think that capitalism and protecting the environment actually go hand in hand in some ways, like property rights. And, you know, I don't think that the EPA really protects the environment at all. I mean, they've just become a shield for corporations when they fuck up. That's basically what they are now. Yeah. So there was that part, and then there was also sort of the like spiritual or religious aspect. Like, I'm more of a naturalist type of guy. I don't really believe in God or anything like that. Yep. So it was kind of tying that into it. And then also, I think that we've reached this point where our society is just completely unnatural. Nothing that we value, nobody who's in charge, none of the products that are at the top are naturally there, because I mean, we have such a lopsided value system. We have such a lopsided economy, such a lopsided government that, you know, if you put us 2,000 years ago, you wouldn't see any of these people in these positions. You wouldn't see any of these products where they are. It's just because they've been like, they've just been artificially placed there by this stupid system we have. So we need to remove all these structural abominations that make things the way they are. We need to basically remove warning labels, remove regulations, you know, stop propping people up who don't deserve power, and just kind of let everything equalize again. And you know, that's kind of where it came from. And I wanted something that rhymed with capitalist a little bit, so naturalist was just a good word to kind of embody all those ideas. And I thought about changing the name a few times, but I'm just sticking with it. I think it works, and you know, it's how people know me now. So
I think it works. I think it makes sense. I think you just wrapped it all up perfectly. Yeah, there's no reason to change it. That's exactly, it's who you are. Yeah, it's to your core too. And I wouldn't change it. You know, I don't know, who am I? I'm no one. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know, man. It's you cornered a good market with that whole idea there, and like you're rolling with it. And like, again, people, I'm sure everybody fucking listens to you for sure, follows you for sure. But like, if you guys don't follow Reed, like, you really have besides your hilarious takes, which I do too on Twitter. We just shit on people and we fucking make jokes and stuff too. But like you also legitimately have like very good solid points on Twitter, and you were able to wrap it up in a few sentences, I think, pretty well, and for certain issues. Were you always good at that, or is that something you just developed through Twitter and like through just the fucking climate we're in?
Yeah, my dad's an English teacher, so I've kind of always had a way with words, and he also really drove into my head, don't be repetitive, be concise, get to the point. Because when he would grade my papers, he was my teacher in school, high school for 3 years. He would just point out, you reused this word several times in the same paragraph. You basically just reiterated the exact same thing you said earlier here. Just try to, cut the fluff, say something that's deep and cutting and gets people's attention and gets your point across. And I try to do that with podcasting too. I don't like people who just pontificate for 40 minutes and they're really only saying something you could have said in, 10 minutes or whatever. So I try to do that, but that's helped me with Twitter with the character limit. I can just, what I'll do is I'll type out the whole idea that I have, and then it'll be, 11 characters over or whatever. And so then I'll look through the tweet and figure out what words I can get rid of, what punctuation I can change, how I can word it a little bit differently. But yeah, I think it's always been a knack, and, obviously just having all the practice on Twitter, I've gotten better at it. And when you're driving all day, you have a lot of time to think, and you can come up with shit. So,
what a few months ago you were doing that whole Liberty Unity thing, and I think that was a good idea, right? Because we had so many, we still do. It really hasn't changed, but so many fractures in the part. But I'm not texting the whole time. I'm trying to look up information. if you look at me on my phone, I'm sorry. I'm not texting. I'm like Googling shit. I'm trying to find shit. I have 80 days. So I'm like all over the fucking place. I'm sorry. You did the Liberty Unity thing a few months ago, which I think was a good idea. Because of all the fractures we have in the party and in this stuff. But then I think there's a part where you even saw it, where you were like, oh, there's just some people that they don't want to be helped. They don't want to be they don't want to be discussed with. They don't want to be talked to. They don't want to have ideas thrown their way. And I think that's when correct me if I'm wrong, but that's when you were pretty much like, you made a line in the sand, and that's when you kind of jumped to full MC, right? Full Mises?
Yeah.
All right, so so what was that like a decision? Like, what drew you to that?
Well, I didn't really understand what the Mises Caucus was all about, and that's because I haven't been, they started in like 2017, 2018, sometime around there.
I want to say like 17, 18, yeah.
Yeah, so I was not involved in the Libertarian Party back then, so I didn't know anything about it. The first I ever heard of the Mises Caucus was when I started paying attention to them, started paying attention to the Libertarian Party in 2020, and Jacob Hornberger was their guy. And at first I liked him because he was the only guy I knew anything about. And I was like, well, I agree with this guy on pretty much everything. So cool. But then I started watching him in the debates, and he was just vicious and hateful and spiteful and, just not nice. And then especially when Justin Amash jumped in the race for a few weeks, he was, calling Justin Amash a socialist. I was just like, and the other thing was, his number one issue wasn't lockdowns, wasn't corporatism. It was ending Medicaid. It's like, okay, we're in the beginning of a pandemic and you're making ending Medicaid like your number one issue. I don't know, man. I'm not impressed. So I was then Justin Amash was the guy I was kind of interested in early 2020, but then he jumped. So I was like, okay, I don't care who is the nominee as long as it's not Hornberger. And I'll vote for Hornberger if he wins, but I don't want him. Like, I'll take Vermin Supreme over Hornberger. I was just like, this is not the guy who I want representing us, because he's not big tent. He's not, he's not interesting. He's not fun to listen to. He's not inspiring, and he's not going to draw people together. So I was just like, fuck this guy. And then Joe Jorgensen ended up winning. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And then I didn't really know anything about the Mises Caucus other than Hornberger. And then what I saw was, once Joe Jorgensen wins, it was just a lot of Mises caucus people doing nothing but tearing her down. And there were some criticisms of her that I definitely agreed with, but they just wouldn't shut up about it. They just do nothing but criticize Joe Jorgensen. I was like, Jesus Christ, guys, like she's kind of boring and milk toast, and she tries to convert everyone into being a full-on libertarian at every speech. And she's, her social media team has put out some woke shit that's not cool, but whatever. So anyway, that was all I knew of the Mises Caucus was Jacob Hornberger and then all the people hating on Joe Jorgensen. So I thought the Mises Caucus was like this idealistic, like super, super isolated, like anarchist, our way or the highway group of people. So I was like, that's not what I want the Libertarian Party to be. Like, I want to focus on the big issues, like the wars, ending the Fed, ending the drug war, stuff like that. And then the other stuff, if we disagree on it, that's cool. So that was like what I was thinking. I didn't realize that's exactly what Michael Heiss wanted. Like if you look at the Mises Caucus, that's what they talk about. They talk about the, Austrian economics, ending wars, ending the lockdowns, ending the war on drugs. And then if you disagree on abortion or immigration or IP laws or whatever, like it's not the end of the world. So it was just like a several month, reconstruction of my understanding of what the Mises Caucus was about and what it was for. And then you're right. Like you realize some people don't want to be helped. They don't want to work together. They don't want to get anything done. They just want to be parasites feeding off of someone who's successful and just tearing them down all the time. That's really what they do. Because a lot of the people who didn't used to hate me, now they do. And they've come after me, tried to tear me down, tried to delegitimize me, try to say I'm a Nazi or a racist, and then there's people on the other side who just say I'm a grifter and I'm a, someone who's riding coattails, don't have anything interesting to say, whatever. And so I've realized like, okay, I'm still all about the unity thing. I really am. But you guys have to jump on board. Like I'm not going to like be a therapist trying to get all these retards to stop screeching at each other. It's like, all right, guys, look, like me, Dave Smith, Justin Amash, Spike Cohen, Karen Ann Harlos, a lot of great people in the liberty movement. We want to work together and we want to actually accomplish something. So you can come with us if you want, but I'm done like throwing life preservers because you can grab onto them or you can just sink, and I'm not going to jump in the water and try to hold you up. So it's been a little bit of an evolution, but that concept I still totally believe in. And, it extends past the liberty movement. I mean, if you agree with me on an important issue, I'll totally support you. Like I retweeted Matt Gaetz the other day for saying the CIA was the enemy of the people. I had Abby Martin on a couple days ago. I had a great conversation with her about the war on terrorism and the military industrial complex. Like that's my jam. Like if you can find an area of agreement, we'll work together there and, disagree on other stuff. So concept's still there, but I've just realized how many shitbags there are, and I'm not going to coddle them. Like they can jump on board or they can drown.
That reminded me. I was writing down Meghan McCain. You've had almost like a silent war with her, like that we know about. Is she aware of you?
I think I would be blocked if she were aware of me.
Okay, I mean, fuck. Even like somehow someone might have brought it up to her. You think? Like, I mean, dude, it gets a lot of like. Those back and forth getting like a lot of engagement on Twitter. It's hard for me to think that all these tags that she's getting or her team's getting, like no one blocks you. That's weird. I don't know, dude.
Same with Marianne Williamson. No one blocked me there either. Like
I'll tell you why. No, I know that. I could answer that for you. She's not Meghan McCain, as in like she needs all the attention she'll get. She doesn't give a shit. Meghan McCain, she goes, oh, my father was this. Oh, I was on The View. I don't, whatever the fuck. No, I tweeted out something, too, about Meghan McCain when I don't know what the fuck, but she tweeted out all the fire emojis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just, requote tweeted. I was like, why are you telling us what your dad sees? It's like, fuck her, dude. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, people are like, that's rough. It's like, her father murdered thousands of innocent people.
Yeah.
over his own wealth and fucking lies. And I'm like, why do we care about these people? I don't understand. So I'm glad, like, guys like you and others and me, and are like, nah, fuck them. I don't care. They need to be told the evil things that they or their families have done. Like, I don't understand the pushback we get.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, you'd be surprised some of the messages I've gotten from like higher up libertarian professionals who are not allowed to say that type of stuff. They've sent me messages saying like, "Hey, thank you for going after Marianne, or thank you for what you said about McCain, because I would get fired if I said that." And then, I mean, my boss is based like if I said something hard in the paint, I'm more likely to get a raise than get fired. So he doesn't give a fuck. And I don't have to worry about my job. There are a lot of people who, even if they're not libertarian professionals or whatever, if they're just an office worker, they have to be careful, because if they say something, their employer might find out about it and they could get rid of them. So I'm in a kind of special place because I've had Nick Gillespie, Hannah Cox, Spike Cohen, Brad Palumbo, people. I've had all of them on my show and I have good rapport with them. But I'm also like a complete shitlord when I want to be. So I'm in a weird spot. I mean, I'm friendly with the reason types, but I'm also not one of them. And I'm friendly with like the hardcore shit posting types. So I'm like a bridge almost, and both sides appreciate me. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I can even stay in that place forever. It seems like it's such a hot zone that eventually somebody's going to hate you, but I don't know. We'll see.
No, you can't, because this can't happen. There's no way, because the screeching libertarians will never accept you if you don't disavow all of us. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between I've called them the bitch fuck cucks and then like the blue people. So like I would consider Nick Gillespie to be blue pilled in general, but he's not a bitch fuck cuck. Like Archie Flower is a bitch fuck cuck. So is what's her name? Brianna Coyle. People like that. Like they're there to be parasitic and leech off of people who are successful and just screech all the time. But I don't think that way about like Brad Palumbo or Hannah Cox or any of those people. Like they're just in a different lane that I understand they got to act the way they do. And as long as they're not, trying to shoot me down, I'm fully in support of whatever they're trying to do, because they're working in a different area of the liberty space, and I think that's cool. But yeah, the bitch fuck cucks, they can get fucked. I don't care about them at all.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, so what do we do? They're not going anywhere. Some of them do. Some of them go to the Green Party where they belong, but like most of them don't, because this is a cool kids club and they feel like they have a right to be here. Everyone has a right to be here if you want to be here. But if you're just here to fuck shit up, then don't be here. So my question to you is, what do we do with them? How do we get rid of them? Or how do we fucking condition them? Like, what's the plan? Because they're not going anywhere and they keep getting in the way. So what do we do?
I just blocked all of them on Twitter, because that's the only place I ever interact with them. And since I blocked them, I haven't seen any of their shit. And we led a campaign like block Nick Sarwark, block Archie.
Yep.
And like Tom Woods and Dave Smith even ended up doing it. And guess what? Like now you don't see any of their shit ever. And no one even realizes they exist. And they have no power. They have no audience. They're irrelevant. And, when there's petty shit like what happened in New Hampshire and what's happening in Delaware right now, it had just like, keeping troops in Saudi Arabia in the 90s, you have blowback. So the Mises Caucus is the 9/11 of the Libertarian Party. They're gonna bring it back. So.
Fuck, that's funny. Yeah, man. No, you're right. I blocked Sarwark. That fucking cunt. He's such a piece of shit. He talked so much shit to me on Twitter one time, and then I remember seeing him and be like, "Yo, what's up?" He was just like fucking right through me, just fucking, And then after that, I was like, "Oh, he's such a fucking coward." I wasn't trying to fight. I was just gonna be like, "Yo, dude, like, why don't you talk to me now? Like, you talk all that shit online. All right, here I am. Let's fucking talk about it." But I wouldn't even get past the hey. Then I saw him again recently. Spike was speaking at this thing in PA, and it was happened to be at the same place where the state board convention was, and I'm the Newtown board rep for PA, Bucks County board rep for PA. Sorry. So he was there, and I'm like, you know what? Ignore him. I just fucking ignore him, and it's better because it goes away. All him, Archie, all those guys, because you block them, they get power off of us shitting on them.
Yeah.
So we remove
that's why I
that,
say
and
they're
they go away.
parasites.
Yeah.
That's why I say they're parasites. They need a host. Like if they don't have a host, they wither up and die. So I've gotten a little heavier with the block button because I had some like actual serious shit leveled against me that was complete bullshit a few weeks ago. And so I blocked a ton of people who were trying to implicate me in it. And then I sort of had like Twitter APAC coming after me last week because I was doing some hard in the paint Israel tweets. And they were reporting me and trying to get me removed. So I started blocking anyone who was liking comments, and so I got pretty heavy with the block button recently. But in general, I don't block people who disagree with me. Because I think disagreement's good. I think it's bad to live in an echo chamber. But Nick Sarwark, Archie Flowers, Andy Craig, they're not honest disagreements. They're just being bitches. So like you're not removing any valuable conversation from your lexicon if you ditch them. So I totally encourage anyone to just 100%. Block them.
And how about Archie then goes on a GoFundMe because he's poor, and then all the Mises Caucus guys give him money? I mean, it's like
I didn't give him any.
Same.
Yeah.
No, same. No, I didn't
ironic.
Either. No. I fuck you. That's why. Why the fuck would I help you?
Yeah.
You've been nothing but a cunt.
Yeah.
To me and all my friends. I'm gonna give you money because you're poor. And that's the thing. It's not like, oh, I'm sick. Oh, I can't. It's like, hey, I'm just bad with money. All right.
Yeah.
Figure it out. We all are. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, no. You don't get charity from me after fucking trying to literally ruin the lives of friends of mine.
Yeah, I think this speaks to a larger issue. Libertarians as a whole really are not impressive people. I mean, there are some really impressive people in our movement like Tom Woods, Dave Smith, Jeff Deist, I'd say like Nick Gillespie, Scott Horton, Spike Cohen, I think is pretty impressive. Ron Paul, there are like really great people who've really inspired a lot of thought and pushed people in a good direction. But like when it comes down to the boots on the ground, we do tend to garner a lot of like degenerate, useless pieces of shit who don't know how to do anything. And they've only become libertarians because they know that it absolves them of responsibility, basically, of contributing to society or ending up in prison for, drug abuse or whatever. And I don't know, like that, it kind of sucks, and it just shows like, the fact that I am where I am already in this movement is more of a damnation or indictment of the liberty movement than it is an endorsement of my resume. Because, I mean, thanks for your compliments, but I don't think that I should have the audience I have already and be in the position I'm in this movement already. Like that's just really terrifying, and I think it's because there are just so many retards and so many people who have never done anything in their lives. Like they haven't held a steady job. They haven't moved out of their parents' basements. They haven't read a book. They just haven't done anything. But they think because they watched a couple YouTube videos that they have all the answers to the world's problems, and they're preaching down to everybody else. But you look at their lives and you're like, wow, that's interesting. Like you're teaching us about economics, but you're $10,000 in debt still living in your parents' basement. Like that doesn't make sense.
That's the thing that bothers me. And my producer is also a comic. And as comics, listen, the scene generally is pretty left leaning. Okay. Like I'm a pretty big outlier. It's the scene of comedy. I have a lot of friends of mine who, we'll get into not arguments at all, but just conversations about like, politics, economics, this shit, that shit. Okay. Most of my lefty comic friends will talk to me about the minimum wage and all this shit, and this is wrong, and this is why the government needs to tax stuff. And I go, okay, cool. You live in a fucking basement with 7 other people. So I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to myself and the people I read about money management and and taxes and and finance, because I'm pretty sure what I'm doing is better than what you're doing. And it's not a knock. I'm saying you do whatever you want, but don't pitch me like I don't see what you're living in. And don't hit me with like,
Yeah.
well, it's because it's a city and it's bullshit. But it's bullshit. And I'm not, it doesn't mean, I'm not like, oh, you have to make more money. Dude, I was literally broke for years. I was like negative money for fucking years. I was like in the red. Negative thousands. Because my mom, I told you this before, my mom stole money from me at one point. This is all while I had a job. I was working full time and negative thousands of dollars. Where like the bank kept doing that thing where it's like, hey, you're broke, so we're gonna take more money from you. It's like, hey, okay, I don't have it, so go nuts. So I do know what it's like to crawl out of a fucking legitimate hole. I was in a legitimate financial, like I thought I was fucked forever. I crawled out. I made it. You a little bit of luck, a little bit of fucking hard work, all of it combined. It could be done. But I don't want you to fucking just be like, I know because I watch CNN. You don't know shit. How many books do you read economics? I read at least 3. At least 3. So I'm not saying I'm a fucking genius. I'm fucking dumb as fuck. But at least I know the basics of economics. Henry Hazlitt, Thomas Sowell, that shit. I don't know if we lost Reed or not. No, we didn't. Okay, you froze for like a decent time. Sorry.
Oh.
No, you're good. But like, yeah, but like they didn't read all that shit.
No,
you know?
Yeah. No, you're right. And the thing I try to do is lead by example. I always have. I've literally never ever been in debt, and I've also paid for everything in my life with cash, and I have more in savings and investment than most people have in debt. And I bought my parents' septic system for them when I think I was 21.
Wow.
Because they, instead of taking a loan out from a bank, I just gave them $9,000 to rebuild their septic system, and then they paid me back. I bought my dad's truck for him last year. He's paying me back. I bailed a friend out who had chest surgery and both of his wells went dry. Just loaned him money and he gave it back. I've helped my sister out. I've helped friends out. So like, I'm a bank basically. I'm like the opposite of what most people are these days. And I've never, ever had to worry about money. Like I've traveled all 50 states. I took like months at a time off, drove up to Alaska, lived off the road. And I have skills that I've learned at different places. I know how to just uproot and move, and I could get a job pretty much anywhere in the country if I wanted to. And, so to me, that speaks a lot more volume about the value of capitalism and markets and all that than reading a book. Like if you can actually prove to people, hey, I know how to use my money wisely. I know how to advance myself in this economy. This is something I think the post-libertarians are actually spot on about, is the whole wealth, power, and influence thing. Like if you don't have any wealth or influence or power or whatever, like why are people going to fucking listen to you? Why are they going to be like, oh, look at this guy in his basement who has read Anatomy of the State, but just plays video games all day and weighs 400 pounds and has never, done a thing in his life. So I think being impressive and living by your principles and showing other people that it works is going to do way more than pontificating about what Rothbard said or what Mises said or what Henry Hazlitt said, if that makes sense.
It does. There is a thing, like, especially with libertarian dudes, and I love everybody, but like, I'm gonna shit on some of you for a little bit. So, like, there's like, okay, I was at the Virginia thing, the party. It was fucking great. The show was great. The after party was fun as fuck, right? But like, there's so many awkward dudes in the libertarian movement where like I'm watching just from afar of just awkward dudes trying to talk to chicks, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. It's like you guys gotta get it together a little bit, because they had no problem talking to me for 47 minutes after the show about fucking, school choice in my eyes without breaking eye contact, but they can't say hi to a pretty lady. It's like you guys gotta. It all matters. It all fucking matters. It all comes off a certain way. So if, again, like, I'm kind of parodying what you just said, but yeah, if you could rattle off an animated state for 60 pages, but someone's like, cool, can you have sex with a lady? And they're like, well, I'm working on it. It's like, well, man, that kind of, I don't mean like the sex thing, but like confidence. Confidence comes into play. Like if you don't come off, know what you're talking about, you look stupid. guess is my greater
Yeah,
point.
I mean, yeah, I think the irony of all this too is, a lot of these libertarians, they end up in places where they need the state. Like Archie ended up getting a bunch of money from the Mises Caucus, but if that hadn't happened, he probably would have had to, try to get some help from the government. And a lot of these people like this end up in those situations because they don't have any skills. They are in debt. They haven't figured out how to get a hold of their own lives. And so they end up reliant on the thing that they're supposedly trying to dismantle. It does a lot more if you're someone who is self-sufficient and can take care of yourself and your friends and your family, and you're not doing a podcast and you're not, reading the right books or whatever. If you're doing that without the theory, you are doing a lot more to disempower the state than you are if you're reading the right books and spouting off pontifications on a podcast. Like I think the action is a lot more important. So it's just ironic to see so many libertarians who have the theory, but they don't fucking do anything about it.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem with us is the action part, right? I think I don't know dude, I don't know what it has to do with. Maybe it is confidence. I don't know, because why are there so many people who are willing to just again hide behind? I mean, on our side, like hide behind a Twitter and just spout off their shit. But it's like, well, hey, why don't you say it? It's like, well, I can't. It's like, well, why? It's like, well, I don't know, my job. It's like, okay, I get that, I guess, but at what point? I'm like, who's the fight? Who fights for us then? Like, if people are so afraid of their job or social pushback, then is it just us who can't really lose our jobs to do it? Is it up to us then? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know where we go. Like, where do we go? If it can't be everybody, it also can't be just some of us. It's like it's a weird. I feel like rock and a hard place we're at.
Yeah. I grew up religious, and I noticed a lot of people who went to my church, the the religion was just something that kind of made you feel good or whatever. But then
Okay.
if you actually looked at how they lived their lives, they weren't living like Christians at all. They weren't putting others before themselves. They weren't forgiving. They weren't generous, whatever. So I think it's similar with libertarianism. Like a lot of people just like this because it sounds good. It sounds inspiring. It sounds interesting, but they're not willing to actually live it. So, I mean, and then you're going to have that with everything, with any religion or any like political ideology or any social fad or whatever. Like people like the way it sounds, but they're not willing to actually change themselves. So I think that's what the problem is, and it's certainly not exclusive to us. I mean, everyone has that.
Yeah, that's fair, man. Where do you think next year at the national convention takes us? Do you think Angela gets in and we do a little nice switcheroo in the LP main XCOM there? Or do you think, nah, it's gonna be the same or some shady shit gets thrown around? Like what do you think? Do you think we really have a legit chance of taking the party over?
I wish it were happening this year, not next year,
Yeah.
because I don't think the Prague caucus dissolving was actually helpful. Um, because what you saw happen is after the Prags went away, then you started seeing more splintering among the Mises people. Like you saw people start going to like post-libertarianism or re-embracing the paleo strategy, or doing like embracing agorism or whatever. Like you saw the pretty united Mises caucus factions start breaking up already. So I don't know what we're going to be like in a year. I want us to stay connected and stay focused and have resolve, but I don't know. Like the tendency of movements is to break up, not to build. So I think it's really important to try to build and to try to point out these big picture issues and try to form coalitions and try to encourage people and excite them and get them involved. But it's a lot easier to tear down, and it's a lot easier to. I mean, I do it all the time. What I try to do is I try to punch up. Instead of like just arguing. Block Archie, block Nick, block all those guys, keep them away. Instead of punching down like that, like take it to Meghan McCain, take it to Marianne Williamson, take it to Liz Cheney, you know, take it to the institutions, take it to the people who are actually like ruining your life, you know, not the annoying Twitter retards. Like, take it to the actual power structure. That's the only way I see us staying united in any sort of way. But if I had to guess, I can't imagine that Angela doesn't get elected and the Mises Caucus doesn't continue taking over, because all the bullshit that the bitch fuck cucks keep pushing, like I mean, no one likes it. Nobody at all. Like, I mean, you just see the reactions and everyone's just like, what are you doing? It's just a few people who have power who won't have it much longer, I think.
I hope. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, you saw the I'm sure you know the Delaware thing that just happened in Delaware, and like, I think that's gonna keep happening, and even people who are just on the fence of like, or Mises really what they say, or like, you know, they see that shit and they go, oh, no, they're actually right. These guys are scumbags, and like, good Delaware, do that. Do what you just did. That's only gonna help us. Yeah, it might money things up for now and the next week or two for them. Okay, they'll get it sorted, and they're gonna get fucked. Like, they're gonna get so fucked. At what point do we? How do we start kicking these people the fuck out? I mean, like, now they're like committing actual theft. You know, I don't want to. You know us. I don't want to get the fucking obviously government involved at all. There's no police or anything, but like, they are stealing technical data from members by doing this. So if a whole membership votes in a person, and then other members just decide to fucking oust that person and then control that data. Well, you didn't vote those people to have control of your data. It's like the New Hampshire thing, but a lesser scale. You know, so like, at what point could we be like, actually, get the fuck out of the party? You're done. You just stole shit from us.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right that that's going to be the eventual trajectory anyway, because no one supports it except for the people who have the power, and they don't have much power. And you saw what happened in New Hampshire. Like, it just completely backfired. Yeah. It completely backfired. So I do think you're right that, you know, now that the Prague caucus is gone, we actually do want this antagonization coming from these few people just to keep the fire fueled. Yeah. Because every time something like this happens, it builds a ton of resolve and conquest within the Mises Caucus. And I think, you know, we need as much of that as we can get. So keep fucking it up, like, everyone, please, because you give more reason for people to join, more reason for people to hate your guts, and it's gonna work out in the end.
Yep. Dude, I think we're at an hour, right, Jess? We're about an hour. Yeah, man. I don't want to keep you anymore in your fucking torture dungeon cage. Dude, Reed, thank you so much for coming on finally. And it's finally cool to actually get to actually talk to you. I know we all used to kind of talked on Twitter for the last month or so, but like, it's cool to actually hang out. Hopefully more of these, man. Obviously, you're always welcome on my show. Anytime you want to drop by, talk shit, hang out, laugh, whatever, man, fucking hit me up. You're always more than welcome. But before you go, please tell everybody they can find you and your podcast and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, man. I know last time I got fucked pretty hard last time. I had to drive to like 11 o'clock Mountain Time or something. It was retarded. So like, it was, I think you're in Pennsylvania. So it would have been 1 o'clock in the morning or something. So it just didn't quite work out. But thanks for having me back on. It was a good conversation. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Reed Coverdale. And then I'm the Naturalist Capitalist wherever you find podcasts. So YouTube, Naturalist Capitalist, on Anchor. So that's Apple, you know, Spotify, all those platforms. I'm on there. I typically go live for my interviews, and then a couple days after I go live, I'll download the audio version to Anchor. So if you're someone who likes to listen instead of watch, you can do that there. I'm also on Odyssey now, growing there slowly. I don't know how much longer they're going to let me stay on YouTube, because
yeah, I know.
Like, I have some guests that YouTube really doesn't like, and mostly Ryan Dawson. So I don't know. I don't know how long they're going to let me survive. So make sure you follow me on Odyssey and those alternative platforms. But I'll be there as long as I can. And, you know, this doesn't cost me anything. I enjoy doing it. So I don't plan on moving along from this. I think it's good. And I've seen it, you know, which amazes me. I think it's mostly from the people I have on, but I've really seen people's minds change that I have known for years. There's this guy that I've known for like man, I've known him for like 15 years, and he was like a pro-Israel, MAGA, like hardcore Republican guy, and he's a Ron Paul libertarian from listening to the Four Horsemen every month. So, you know, like it is making a difference, and it's
Good.
encouraging, and I'll keep at it.
Good, man. Everybody go check out fucking Reed if you're not already. I'm sure you guys are, but please go check out Reed if you're not. Again, you guys, you know where to find me, Adam Nutter and all stuff. Next episode, which I'm recording right after this, weirdly enough, fucking Clint Russell's coming on, so that's cool. So, come on out. Yeah, check that episode out, everybody. Again, Reed, thank you very much. Guys, peace out. Next time.
Thanks for listening. Find Adam on social media, Twitter and IG @Adam Nutter, or Facebook and TikTok @Adam Nutter Comedy. And for podcasts and merch, check out www.droptent.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.